Hello, this is Fred Lindsley with ImagineTime, and this is a short session on how to work the appointment and task syncing with Outlook. Outlook is the conduit through which our synchronization mechanism can push down appointments to a number of different PDA devices, including Blackberries, Droids, iPhones, and many of the other popular PDA devices. When your Outlook calendar is synced to ImagineTime, it'll automatically sync to the remote device. So what I'm going to show you is how to sync. You want to check your options for syncing, and that's this button right here on your calendar. And your very first time that you sync your tasks and appointments, you're going to do one of two options. If your ImagineTime calendar is the superior calendar, you're going to build Outlook from ImagineTime. And what that's going to do is it's going to delete every appointment in Outlook and replace it with appointments from your ImagineTime calendar. More typically, a new user already has appointments on their calendar, and they're going to want to build ImagineTime from Outlook. Okay? Once you go through this process of choosing one of these two, you then click here to begin manual batch synchronization. What that will do is it will bring your two calendars in line. After you've done that initial sync, either to bring ImagineTime to whatever's in Outlook or Outlook to whatever's in ImagineTime, all further syncs should be based upon the default option. Okay, the default option is to look at both calendars, see which one has the most current appointment, and then update the other calendar system based upon the most current change. So what I'll do now is I'm going to demonstrate how this batch syncing mechanism works with the default options. So let's close that, okay? And you have to close and reopen the calendar to reset these options. Well, I've closed it, I'm reopening it. And right now I'm going to show you these 4 appointments in our calendar. I'm going to bring over my Outlook calendar, and you can see that I have the same 4 appointments here. Now it doesn't matter where I add this appointment, either in Outlook or in ImagineTime. And I'm going to add an appointment, meeting with staff on Thursday the 5th. And I'm going to go over to sync. With the default option checked, I'll click. And this is doing a batch method sync. It's one of the 2 primary sync methods. I'm going to drag my calendar over and you'll see that there is the meeting with staff right there. Now, what about a more efficient sync mechanism? Once you've done your initial sync and the 2 calendars are in line, you can use what I prefer, which is batch sync on calendar open with active sync. Now, active sync dynamically synchronizes the 2 calendars. So I open and I close. Okay. Now, here's the question. It says, click OK to sync. When I'm out of the office and ImagineTime is not open, I may make changes in Outlook that are not reflected in ImagineTime. So first thing it does when I open is it runs this sync, brings the 2 systems in line with each other. Since we had just synced a moment ago, that really didn't change anything. What I'm going to do now is going to take these 2 sets of data, there they are, okay. I'm going to take this appointment here and I'm going to shorten it up and I'm going to move it over to another day. And I'm going to bring the Outlook calendar over, and you're going to see that it immediately made that change. Now, if you make a change in Outlook, that was an appointment reminder in Outlook, by the way. I'm sure you've all heard that. If you make a change in Outlook, it will also reflect itself in ImagineTime immediately, but immediately is defined a little different there. It's based upon your refresh interval. So you go into your options, and if my refresh is 30 seconds, that's when it's going to check to see if I've made a change in Outlook that is superior to ImagineTime. So what I recommend when you're working in the office is work on the ImagineTime calendar. That's the primary calendar. It will automatically sync up Outlook, and if you have your PDA device connected through Bluetooth or through any other connection, a holder for that PDA device would normally automatically sync it, then that PDA device will also be dynamically updated. And that's the basic syncing. Let's just check this sync screen again. I'm using batch sync with that. Not be my first choice. First time when you go in, you're going to do no active sync, and you're going to either build ImagineTime or build Outlook. Okay, after you've done that initial one, you're going to choose one of the active sync methods. Now, maybe you don't need to active sync. I mean, if you don't have to have your Outlook calendar updated all the time, don't active sync. Run the batch sync when you open ImagineTime. That may be preferable. It uses less overhead. It's not polling for changes, so it's going to be a little faster. On the bottom right, you're telling it that you want to sync both appointments and tasks, and you want a warning if there's a certain number of deletes that occur. It could indicate the one thing that we always want to avoid, and what that means is this: if I am syncing on my machine, it identifies my Outlook profile name. Now, what happens if with my features set here to batch sync on open, if someone logs in as me on a different computer with a different Outlook profile, it's going to look at that profile and say, gee, it's a different name, and generate a warning before the syncing starts. You want to heed that warning and cancel. You do not want to sync to somebody else's calendar with a different profile name. That'll create duplicates in appointments. It'll also delete appointments. So it's very important that you stay synced to the profile on that particular machine. If you're using Exchange Server and you have your profile loaded on a couple of machines, for in this case Fred Lindsley, that's okay. That's not going to cause a problem. What's going to cause a problem is if Jim Smith has his Outlook calendar open and you log in as Fred Lindsley and it's looking for the Fred Lindsley profile on Jim Smith's computer, and if you ignore the warning message and click OK, it's going to create a little bit of a mess. So you do not want to do that. Down here, this is how far back to go when syncing prior appointments. Certainly 90 days is more than adequate. Even 30 is probably adequate enough. Some other customized features here regarding auto sync defaults. I recommend the first one, ImagineTime IT to Outlook. These other ones are just additional modifications that you can look at and determine which one might be appropriate for you. So I'm making sure my default option is set, and I'm pretty much good to go. And if you have any other questions, feel free to contact our support department.